The unofficial home of Facing the Pain, and this is Facing the Pain 9. Hi again, everybody. I'm Jeremy Lamb. A famous person once wrote, "What's in a name?" Another famous person once said, "My name is my name." And one more famous person said, "Hi, my name is." You might think this is podcast on a pole, but we are now facing the pain. That is our name. With me, as always, my broadcast partner, Sam or Katie. You have nothing. You're supposed to join in here.
I refuse to. Absolutely not. Remember my speech strike from a couple of weeks back? This shit is back on. This time it's legit. I wanted a medium at home so bad, and I ended up with Facing the Pain. First of all, okay, I honestly I kind of have a vague idea what he's doing, but I really had no idea he was going to do that. Actually, I did have an idea he was going to do that because he fucked up the first take. But that was the first time I'd heard it, which was 1 minute ago. His Mike Goldberg thing right here. You did text me telling me that you were going to name the podcast Face the Pain, or Facing the Pain, is it?
Yeah, facing the pain. You shot down my idea of facing the pain. Face the pain. You said you wanted to do Into Pieces, and I didn't think that made any sense. So I just went with Facing the Pain.
No, it should. I mean, I didn't want to do Into Pieces. I was just kidding, obviously. But we have a history with you coming up with terrible names and me just playing along for some God knows what reason. So just when I thought nothing could be worse than Occupy the Throne, here it is.
But now our intro song is Face the Pain, which I hope we don't get sued.
Well, let me tell you what, partner. That's, no pun intended, Joe, but that's ripping me into pieces.
Did you even like how I fucked up my own name, like Mike Goldberg?
Yeah, that part was really good. Nobody would get it. Probably because nobody even knows your name. Like, yeah, nobody caught on to you saying Jeremy Lamb. Or maybe they confused you with the basketball player, which nobody's heard of anyway but you. So there's that as well. But we're going to talk about that reference, actually. Let's save that for a while later. So we're officially Facing the Pain.
Yes.
I guess I could have sounded more enthusiastic. You couldn't have possibly called me on a worse day, though. I'll admit part of me does find this funny, unlike Occupy the Throne. So,
if nothing else, you got to give me some credit for that intro. I worked very hard on that intro.
I was honestly baffled. Though there was legitimately one time, where I was on a podcast where somebody worked that hard on an intro, but that podcast never actually saw the light of day. And that person too needed two takes for that intro.
That implies that this podcast will see the light of day.
Unfortunately, it will.
That's true. I don't work this hard on a podcast not to post it. I don't care how bad it is.
And well, it's called Facing the Pain. The intro is apparently Face the Pain, and you started it out by this intro. And I followed you with a speech strike. It can't get much worse, honestly.
We're going to talk about UFC on Fox. 22. They've had 22 of these events now.
You know what? Apparently it does get worse. No, this was the best looking card in UFC. Or sorry, the best looking UFC on card. Fox. UFC on Fox card. I said UFC on card, Fox. Yeah, this podcast is going smoothly.
And we don't have anything to preview, so we're going to have to figure out another way to kill an hour.
You mean there's no UFC event this weekend? Are you sure?
I am positive.
You swear on baby Jesus?
Yeah. Is there supposed to be a UFC event this weekend?
I don't know. I mean, every time I ask you that, you're like, dude, it's the weekend. Of course there's a UFC event. So
yeah, it's Christmas weekend. I mean, even the fighters get Christmas off.
I guess. Although, it takes a lot of energy to be a rock star, I guess. I don't know what's the context for that, but I guess there's always a good time to sneak that one in. Didn't you say that we were supposed to come up with some sort of Christmas theme, whatever? Yeah, all right. So your Christmas theme was Face the Pain. Awesome.
Yeah, that is my gift to you and everyone else.
The pain of Santa sliding down the chimney, I guess.
Michelle Waterson beat Paige Van Zandt.
Don't you mean Margot Robbie? You fucking idiot.
And I mean Michelle Waterman, not Waterson, beat Paige Van Zandt.
This is terrible. We need to redo this whole thing. This is absolutely terrible.
No, why? You got that reference, didn't you?
Waterman?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, when she won the fight, that's what Mike Goldberg called her.
Oh, I didn't catch that part. Really? Did he?
Yeah. When after she choked out Van Zandt, Mike Goldberg Michelle Waterson with the rear naked choke victory.
Oh, he corrected himself.
Yeah, that's why.
Remember when Vanderlei Silva knocked out Vanderlei Silva?
Yeah.
That was the best. Which fight was that? Chris Lieben?
That was Chris Lieben, yeah.
Yeah. So hold on. God, whatever idea I had completely lost track. Oh, yeah, no. We need to talk about your stupid comparison. How the fuck does Paige Van Zandt look like Margot Robbie? Because he texted me that, Paige Van Zandt looks like Margot Robbie.
I don't know. During the walkouts on Saturday night, she just kind of looked like Margot Robbie. I mean, dude, I was under the influence, so give me...
Yeah, that explains a lot. Because you texted me that, and I saw it the next morning, and I immediately went to Google. It was like, she looks nothing like her. Paige Van Zandt is an attractive girl. Margot Robbie is, married, but she's Margot Robbie. She's a different breed of attractive women. And they legit look nothing alike. Other than being blondes, I fail to see any resemblance. But whatever.
All right, fair enough. I don't know. For some reason, she looked like that to me on Saturday night.
Would Margot Robbie hold her own in a UFC division? She had some fighting experience as Harley Quinn. Not a good one.
I guess.
Who could she hold her own against?
Paige Van Zandt, probably.
Paige looked like shit.
She looked very bad. Did she land a meaningful strike in this fight?
Aside from those dumb kicks she was throwing?
She went for... I mean, she got tagged with a left hook quite often every time she stepped in. And then Waterson ended up throwing her down to the ground.
Waterson was throwing dumb kicks as well.
Yeah.
I meant Waterman.
Waterson threw her to the ground, and it wasn't long before she tapped her out. Van Zandt survived the rear naked choke for a while. I was surprised at that, so that's something.
It was night like these where I missed Joe Rogan, because how many tight and deep he would have said during that ending sequence. Because there was plenty of tightness in that.
Yeah, it definitely looked like she had her almost immediately, and Van Zant, to her credit, fought it off and stayed in it, and then eventually succumbed.
Honestly, up until the grappling portion of the fight, it was brutal. I mean, it wasn't long enough to be brutal, so I guess I'm being extra harsh, but that didn't look like martial arts or mixed martial arts. They were just like, I don't know, they seemed like they were circling around, throwing like some really awful looking strikes. But when Michelle threw her, that's one thing about the women. We talked about it, maybe it was last week, about the overall level of competition. Not level of competition, just level of talent on average. But I'll tell you one thing. Once they start grappling, it finally looks like MMA again. Many of them are like legitimately skilled grapplers and mostly super dynamic. They're really good with scrambles. They're really good at getting dominant position off of scrambles. Michelle did that, took the back, got the body triangle. I was also lamenting the fact that Rogan wasn't there, because he would always remind her that, you know what, Mike, it is possible to tap somebody out just with the body triangle alone. Then he would reference that one time it happened. Which fight was that?
Ivan Salivary?
Exactly. There you go. Ivan Salivary. Oh, thank you. Because when I was watching the fight, I thought of that joke, and I couldn't remember the guy's name. And I was like, you know what? I'm too lazy to research this. You'll just remind me on the air.
I think it was Ivan Salivary. I'm not 100%.
No, it was. It was. No. Ivan Menjivar, maybe?
I don't know.
No, hold on. No, not Ivan Menjivar. No, that makes no sense. It was Ivan Salivary.
I'm Googling it.
Me too.
Oh, all right. Research.
Exactly. That's what we do best, actually. Except we always do it during, never before.
Yeah. It's no fun if we do it before.
Not Ivan Menjivar. It's pretty much, it's Ivan Salivary. Who did he do that to?
Yeah, Anaconda Body Lock, it says.
Against who?
Tony Frickland.
Tony? Oh, poor Tony Frickland. He's had a bunch of memorable finishes at his expense. You know who Tony Frickland is,
Yeah, he got
right?
knocked out by the Anderson Silva back elbow.
Matrix elbow, yeah.
Yeah. That was in 2004, Ivan Salivary's body triangle. So it happens.
Yeah. It does. In fairness, I haven't heard Rogan say it in a while, but I promise you as recently as 2 years ago, which was still 10 years after the fact, he was still referencing that. So, yeah. So there was that. Anyway, she got her in a body triangle. Struggled a bit to finish the rear naked choke. Eventually was able to get a firm grip with her right hand and finished it off. There's not much to say about this fight other than Michelle Waterson, looked pretty slick on the ground, I think.
And she got $30,000.
For one night's work. Oh, that's the argument. I don't know if you've seen that on Twitter. Whenever, because in light of this event, some people were raising the fighter's pay issue, obviously. And the dumbest replies ever were like, oh, how often do you make $30,000 off of one night's work? It's like, dude, can you honestly get dumber than that? Take into account how much she has to. We've talked about this, like paying the training camps and the coaches and all that. Not paying the training, paying for the training camp, but paying the coaches, plus taxes. And newsflash, she's fighting twice, maybe 3 times a week. A week. That would have been cool. A year. Tops.
Her performance bonus was more than what she made. For some reason, I feel like...
she probably made a lot in Reebok socks and Reebok sneakers as well. So,
like
we're not being totally fair.
Her performance bonus was $50,000, which is $20,000 more than she got for this fight. For some reason, I don't feel like your bonus should be more than your paycheck.
When your bonus is bigger than your paycheck, then
almost
something's
double.
wrong with your yeah, something's wrong with your paycheck. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a really good point. That says it all right there. But then again, how often do you get $50,000 worth of bonus?
I guess the $50,000 bonus is kind of for one night's work. Like, you don't get that if you don't fight.
Maybe I can tolerate the argument about that. But the actual fight salary bit is, like, that's a ludicrous argument.
The salaries for this event. This is how the UFC makes billions of dollars a year. Because, oh boy, nobody made, outside of Faber, and I mean, Faber's been doing this for 50 years now, nobody was even over... 2 people were over 50,000. Three people were over 50,000.
3 out of
4. I didn't see Sage Northcutt there. Sage Northcutt made 60,000.
Well, he earned every dollar. Okay, so 4 people out of what, like 18?
There was no. There was way more fights than that. 1, 2,
yeah,
3,
way more
4,
than that,
5, 6,
There's
7,
definitely more
8,
than 8.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fights.
So 4 out of 26.
Yeah.
Unless there was a triple threat in there.
No.
But I'm guessing 4 out of 26.
So the people who made over 50,000 were Northcutt, who made 60,000. Alan Joban, who got 27 and 27, so he made 54. Colby Covington, also 27 and 27. Leslie Smith made 50,000 even, so if you want to throw her in there, that's fine. And Eddie Wineland, who got 29 and 29, and Wineland's been doing this for 50 years as well.
Yep. How often do you make $50,000 in one night?
It's still baffling that the main event winner got paid less than the guy on the prelims. And I understand the prelim guy has been doing it for a while. But
that was the main event of the prelims.
That's true. The main event of the Fight Pass prelims. Let's be specific here.
Oh, sorry. What was that? Yeah, I don't remember. I made that joke, but I don't remember the origin.
That was a Mark Radulich special, I believe.
Oh yeah. We do miss Mark Radulich.
Yeah, that was a Mark Radulich
Where is
special.
he?
Where is Mark Radulich? I think he's still doing. I think he's still doing podcasts. He's not active on like Twitter or anything, but I'm fairly certain he's still doing podcasts.
Didn't you visit him once?
I did not. We were supposed to, but we did not.
Oh, okay. You've met Cook, Dustin James, and Larry Zonka, right?
I have not met Dustin James. I've met T-Berg.
Oh, T-Berg, right. You've never met Dustin James. That is a shame.
We live on opposite sides of the country, unfortunately. Dustin is on my bucket list right after you.
Right after who?
You.
Oh, we don't talk about our relationship on the air.
I might be going to the West Coast sometime in the next year or two, and I would like to meet Dustin James when I'm out there.
I feel like that would be awesome. I feel like a day with Dustin James is a day well spent.
I would think so. I would definitely think so.
I like his Twitter personality.
He's funny on text as well. I'm texting with him a lot, and he's a funny guy.
Yep. Sounds super weird when he talks. But, yeah, I guess that doesn't...
I'm still not 100% certain that's his kid.
Oh, yeah, dude. That kid is so cute.
Yeah.
And there is no way that thing gave birth to that thing.
I told him I'm fairly certain that he stole that kid, and he should feel ashamed for that, but I guess he's doing an okay job raising her.
I mean, first of all, if you look at Dustin James, I wouldn't discount kidnapping. I like that theory.
What was the video? Remember he posted a video where he like threw a box of cereal at the kid and she fell over.
Oh, did it? Yeah, she fell over and he cracked up. He's fantastic job. She started crying or something, and he just cracked up.
That video was so funny.
That is true. How did we get on this tangent?
I have no clue. Oh, we started with
main event of the prelims.
Main event of the prelims.
Dustin James, and then Dustin James' alleged daughter. I'm not even going to call her that. Let's be serious. She's some kid that he just told. She's super cute, though.
She is. He texted me a picture of her wearing a Panthers jersey, and I thought that was kind of weird because he's not a Panthers fan. Dustin James sent me an Oregon Ducks t-shirt. It was either last year or 2 years ago for Christmas, and it was about 3 sizes too small.
All right. Well, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
I've never sent you a Christmas gift. In fact, I've never sent you anything, even though you've asked me.
Yeah, he sent me a t-shirt of his favorite team.
That makes perfect sense.
That'd be like you sending me a Juice t-shirt that's 2 sizes or 3 sizes too small.
I should send you a Juice t-shirt, though. That would be cool. I actually don't oh, no, I do have a Juice jersey. That's true. I'm weird because I buy jerseys of my favorite players, not my favorite teams.
See, I did that, and then my favorite players would leave, and so I felt really stupid.
Oh, yeah, that happened too. I've told you this before. Like, my favorite soccer player is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and he's known as, like, the mercenary. Like, he's played for every big club you can ever think of, including the Juice. Like, seriously, name a football club you've heard of, he's played for them.
Manchester United.
He currently plays for them. He just joined them this season.
Manchester City.
Okay, well, no.
Yeah, you didn't think I knew that one, did you?
No. Oh, dude, I didn't know you could possibly name 2 teams in one city.
Leicester City. How do you say it? I don't know how you say that name.
Yeah, Leicester City.
Yeah, them.
Oh, okay, nobody plays for them. They're like, I mean, I know they won those. They're literally, it's like the Denver Nuggets winning the NBA. Seriously, it's like the Denver Nuggets won the NBA championship, and this year they're back to being the Denver Nuggets. It was exactly like that.
All right. I mean, yeah, the Nuggets aren't good. They had a couple good players that a certain team could use.
Do you really want to talk about that?
No, we're not.
Good.
This is a MMA podcast, and for some reason, we're talking about everything but MMA right now.
Well, let's just smoothly and effortlessly just slip right back in to the world of MMA.
Michelle Waterman.
No, we've talked about her. Move on. Next fight.
Mickey Gall. Do you want to talk about Van Zant and whether or not she's any good?
I don't think she is, honestly.
I don't either.
We talked last week. We've talked about what I really think of these girls. It's not that she's not good, but she's gonna be in the UFC. She's gonna win some fights, but she's not good enough, at least not right now, to win a few fights in a row, basically. And very few women actually are. So it's like you're flipping a coin every time. Obviously, that's like an extreme exaggeration of the state of affairs, but it is kind of, it does at least give an idea as to the state of the division, because, and it's not just a strawweight division actually, but it applies to most of them. It's just like there are very few women fighters right now that you can look at and you go like, all right, yeah, she's gonna win her next like 3 fights or whatever. Who would you feel comfortable saying that about, other than Chris Cyborg?
Oh, and the women's who would win?
Yeah, any division,
Joanna.
Okay, yeah, the champions, obviously, I didn't think of the champions, but yeah, like Joanna for sure.
I don't even know if Nunes is winning 3 straight fights. Like,
yeah, actually, I don't even know if Nunes is beating Rousey.
Yeah, I don't either.
I favor her, but we've talked about this before. I guess we'll get plenty of chances to talk about it soon enough.
Next week.
I think Next week. All right. Awesome. Can't wait. I'm actually kind of excited to talk about that.
So am I.
I'd say. So, yeah, all right. I guess we'll save that for next week.
Yeah, Joanna is really, and obviously Cyborg, are really the only two who I feel like can win 3 straight fights, or I'd feel comfortable picking them in 3 straight fights.
Yeah, and like people could say, oh, well, you can never feel comfortable saying that about the men. That is true, but for different reasons. If we're talking about like a top, I don't know, welterweight who's fighting other top welterweights, then yeah, there's the level of competition. Now you can say, oh, well, it's the same thing with the women. But there's a difference between really good fighters being hard to separate, so sometimes they'll beat each other, and just like really average fighters being really hard to separate, and so they'll just beat each other. You know what I mean? And I feel like the cream rising to the crop, it has a much bigger chance of happening among elite fighters than among average fighters, which is why you can see somebody like Robbie Lawler, who really came out of the blue when people thought he was just completely washed up, put on a few wins in a row and win a title. That's the sort of stuff we're not. It's not that nobody does it. People have done. Amanda Nunes has done it to win a title, but it's really hard. And Amanda Nunes is good. I don't group her with the sort of with kind of like the level of talent that I'm talking about. She's definitely better than that. But for others, I mean, look, we've given Holly Holm as a really good example, and now she's fighting for a title. Oh, we do need to talk about that.
Okay, let's
talk
preview.
about it right now. We're talking about it.
Okay, go ahead.
Holly Holm's fighting for the featherweight title.
Fighting for the featherweight title against
Who is she fighting?
Germaine de Ramonde. And I know I screwed that up, and I don't care.
That's legit. One of the contenders has lost 2 straight, right?
Yeah, Holm has lost 2 straight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This whole thing is so backwards. I think that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently the report is that it's at UFC 208, and it's 145. So they don't have a 145 division until now. This is for the vacant featherweight 145 title. And it was apparently offered to Cyborg. It was the fight was offered Holm against Cyborg, and Cyborg turned it down because they wanted to do it at UFC 208, which is Super Bowl weekend. And Cyborg couldn't do it because she's still recovering from back-to-back cuts to 140, which now look even dumber than it was when it first happened. And we'll talk about that in a second. But she's recovering from that, and so she couldn't do it. She wanted it later in February. And the UFC was like, no, we need a main event for UFC 208 because we fucked up and we booked all of our big stars for 205 and 207. And so now we have absolutely nothing for 208. And so it's one of those things where they kind of like the Max Holloway fight where they just slapped an interim title fight on there. Like, we need this fight. We need to do it for this title. And so it looks like a respectable event. And so this is what we're going to do. Cyborg be damned. And so this is the fight they came up with. Somebody who, I mean, neither girl has fought at 145 recently. Germaine fought at 145 way back in 2012, so 4 years ago in Strikeforce. Otherwise, she's been cutting to 135 in the UFC. And Holly Holm hasn't fought at 145, I don't know, since... I'm not sure if she's ever fought at 145, honestly.
At least not on the UFC.
Oh, yeah, definitely not in the UFC. And so, but this is the fight they're going with, and then I guess Cyborg will fight the winner. But what's weird is they even offered this fight, like they wanted to do Holm versus Cyborg a while ago. Like, I think even before Holm lost to Shevchenko, they wanted to do this fight. And they wanted to do it at 140. And Cyborg said, fine, let's do it at 140. And Holly Holm said, no, let's do it at 138. And Cyborg's like, I'm not cutting.
Yeah. What a fucking arbitrary number that is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, not 140, can't do that. 138, I'm game.
Yeah. And Cyborg said, no, I'm not doing 138. And so the fight just fell apart. And obviously they wanted to do Holm against Cyborg again for this card, and it fell apart because, yeah, Cyborg she didn't feel comfortable. She could get down to 145 in time because I think this is the biggest thing that I don't know if it's being overlooked or what, but the UFC signed Cyborg because she's a name and she's going to draw for them, and she has through television ratings. But they didn't have a 145-pound division, and so they booked her to fight at 140, even though it was honestly a pretty big health risk for her to cut those 4 or 5 extra pounds because she was having trouble. Like, she could make 145, but it was never a certainty where she made it super comfortable. And now she's cutting to 140, and yeah, they basically had her kill herself for honestly no reason. What was the point of these 140-pound fights? And I feel like that's really getting overlooked, is that she had to fight at 140 twice for literally no reason.
That's really my thing about when it comes to weight classes. First of all, and we have touched on this with Connor, with pretty much every time we talk about any fight any big fight at least that the UFC is trying to put together lately. The belts don't really matter. The weight classes don't really matter at this point. So, let alone a weight class that doesn't exist, or some stupid catchweight fight. Who cares if it's 140, no, 138, what? Like, dude, what difference does it make? Those 2 pounds, seriously. What actual difference are they going to make come fight time? Other than increase the chance of Cyborg killing herself trying to make the weight.
I agree with you that they shouldn't have to cut down this much because...
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. No. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I'm not allowing that joke.
There's a myth about weight cutting.
And you just made it anyway.
Continue.
You could not be silent. So it's really dumb. And then the idea is like, oh, well, if Cyborg can't make the weight, that's her problem. Look, I can maybe understand if you want to criticize her for struggling to make 145, although you're still kind of a dick.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, 145 is supposedly her weight class.
Right.
She's made it. She's missed it before, but she's made it more often than not.
I just really don't think... Well, I mean, as a fighter, you don't want to make weight more often than not. You want to make weight. But I also think that sometimes people kind of think this is way more straightforward than it is. Now, granted... You can make an argument, well, they're fighters, that's their job, it's part of... I mean,
looking back, she missed it once in 2009. It looks like she's made 145 every other time.
Oh, I agree, but you know, the thing is, that's sort of what I wanted to bring up. And it's not quite about necessarily Cyborg per se, just in general. The hypocrisy... Or as that one Trump supporter would say, the hypocrisy of this whole thing is the same people going like, oh, well, you know, she can't make weight. Well, tough balls, you know, that's part of being a fighter or whatever. Then they're like, oh, these weight cuts are getting crazier and crazier. It's only a matter of time before somebody dies. And it's like, well, if Cyber wants to fight Rousey, make 135. Like, okay... Again, if you want to criticize her for failing to make 145, which apparently, as you've pointed out, only happened once 7 years ago. Over 7 years ago, I would guess.
2009 is when she missed weight.
Yeah, like, maybe it's time to put that behind us since she's been making weight since. But since it's clearly a struggle and she's clearly putting her health at risk, how about let's not get overboard? And how about if you're the fucking UFC... And she's your employee. She's one of your fighters. Look, how good of a look for the sport or for the UFC would be if a fighter gets seriously ill, hurt, or, God forbid, even worse, because of a weight cut gone wrong, and you're hung up over petty pounds, like, 138, because you don't like Chris Cyborg and you don't want to make the fight happen at 145. Like, if you're Holly Holm, okay, I guess I can see why her camp would want, like, every potential, however minute or minuscule advantage. I can't fully fault her for that. Like, you're going in there, probably you're going to get murdered. So, okay, I understand why you would want to get that advantage. And it's not like you're putting a knife to her throat, asking her to make 138. But the idea for the UFC to put the fights together, to suggest the fight, and then when Cyborg can't take it, kind of shame her for it. Because that's what they do. Every time you turn down a fight, for whatever reason, you're going to get shamed. That's sort of my biggest issue with this, especially because have they treated a fighter, or at least a named fighter, worse than they've treated Chris Cyborg?
I really
don't think so.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall.
Even when Dana White throws somebody under the bus, and he's done it to everybody, from John Jones. I mean, John Jones kind of threw himself under the bus, but that's a different thing.
John Jones was driving the bus.
Yeah, that is correct. Then flew over the bus. Even GSP, of all people, anybody you want, but none have been kind of humiliated the way Chris Cyborg has been humiliated. Joe Rogan said she had a dick. Dana White said she's Vanderlei Silva in a dress. That is, seriously, that is not something to be taken lightly.
Yeah, so I'm still, when she signed with UFC, and they were like, we want you to fight at 140. They told her, you need to fight at 140 to prove you can make the weight, and then we can do the Rousey fight. That's what they promised her. She's not cutting to 140 unless she's promised certain things. I mean, maybe she will because maybe she's naive to just, hey, I can make 140. I don't think so. It seems like she has a pretty good grasp on what she can and can't do. So I feel like she was definitely promised, cut to 140 because we know you can't cut to 135, but Rousey can come up to 140. If you can come down to 140, we can do that fight at 140. And then to just do a 145-pound division and not have her in the main event for the inaugural title, it's like, what are you doing? This girl is a draw. She brings something to your company. Why are you treating her like this? And I know the reason why. It's because maybe I don't want to use the term draw yet because we don't know what she'll do on in comparison to every other woman not named Ronda Rousey. She's a draw.
Sure. And people will say, oh, well, but I mean, they offered the fight and she turned it down. Okay, I mean, she turned it down for kind of a valid reason.
Yeah, she turned it down because she had to drain herself for 2 straight fights, which, again, those 2 fights were so meaningless. What did they accomplish at 140? What do they mean at 140 that they wouldn't have meant at 145?
I think, you know what? You know why I think the UFC's putting this fight together? Remember how every time we would talk about the Rousey-Cyborg fight and people would bring up the idiotic, super dumb, well, Rousey's the champ, so why should she move up? Cyborg should move down. And I made the argument that, well, if there was a featherweight women's division, who do you think the champ would be?
Right.
Well, not Chris Cyborg now, apparently.
Yeah.
I think the UFC's done that strictly to spite me.
I wouldn't put it past them because they do a lot of things to
If they've
spite
heard
people.
our podcast, I legit wouldn't put it past Dana White to do anything out of pure pettiness. That seems to be the number one rationale in the UFC.
Exactly.
That's the number one motivating factor behind any decision. Then you move on to everything else. But, yeah, what's the most petty? What's the thing that's going to piss off some meaningless individual that I don't like right now? Yeah, okay, let's do that.
And they did this, obviously, again, as I mentioned, because they have like tickets go on sale for this UFC on 208. Actually, they went on sale earlier this week, and it didn't have a main event fight for it, and so they needed some main event.
Right,
and this was like people's
UFC short-term thinking.
Yeah, and
while
this was
the bigger picture.
This was people's argument: is they needed a main event, so when people buy tickets, like they know what they're buying for. Like, really, you're gonna go rush out because they announced home versus Durandamy? Now that's gonna sway you to go buy these tickets to this event?
Yep.
Like it's a UFC card. You're either gonna buy tickets to the event or you're kind of not.
I would probably prefer to buy tickets for like a main event yet to be determined or yet to be announced, and then I can at least talk myself into believing in false hopes. Like, oh, what if it's going to be something exciting? Like, what if they're waiting to see who wins the next fight to potentially give us this? What if Jose Aldo's on the card? I would probably take my chances with like a mystery main event. Well, not probably. I would definitely take my chances with a mystery main event over Holly Holm versus whoever else she's fighting.
And not only is it like short-sighted to, we need this fight on this card for this title, it just goes the short-sightedness of like when they're booking cards at the time. Like they stack these events.
Right.
I don't think they recognize that they have so few draws right now that you can't. Like UFC 205 was a great card. No one's gonna complain about how great that card was. But when you look at it, like, did Tyron Woodley and Stephen Thompson really need to be on that card? Like, did it really add anything? Like, Conor and Alvarez was the draw to that. So you don't need to have this big fight on there when you could use it for an event 2 months from now that is now headlined by Holly Holm and Jermaine Durandamy. And the same thing with the upcoming card, 207. It's Rousey and Nunes. But then there's a good featherweight. Dominic Cruz's title, bantamweight. There's a good bantamweight title fight between Cruz and Cody Garbrandt, and it's like, does that really need to be on the same card as Ronda Rousey when, again, you have this 208 card that has, as of 1 week ago, no headliner? It's very short-sighted of let's stack everything now and then figure things out later.
It's pretty chaotic. It's unstructured. It's unplanned. It's sort of like, okay, like I would like to see how these meetings go, honestly. Speaking of pettiness, by the way, there's something else I want to bring up. Do you see Conor McGregor calling out Dana White on being full of shit?
No, but this sounds fantastic.
Oh, when is Conor McGregor due to be back?
Oh, I saw he said after the birth of his child, which is like May.
Yeah, he said that Dana White was full of shit. And the whole, like, Conor won't be back until the summer. He wants to recover, whatever. Like, Conor never said that. Dana White just made that up so they can have an excuse to strip him off the belt, to strip the belt from him.
In fairness, and I hate to defend Dana White, but at the 205 press conference, Conor
did say he was going to take time off. He did.
He said he was going to take time off, and he said, like, he might not be back until after the birth of his child and everything. Because he wants to spend that time with his wife.
They asked him, and he said May.
Yeah, and now
May is not the summer, though.
Yeah, I mean that's true. So,
although, like, okay, I guess you could say, well, if his child was due in May, it's not like he's going to watch his child, being brought to the world, or if he's like Dustin James, steal somebody else's child and then just immediately jump into the octagon the next day.
Exactly,
and that is fair, but. Call me biased, but I totally buy that Dana White just heard this press conference. Even if Conor was the one that initiated the whole thing. Didn't call Conor, didn't do shit. He's like, he's not going to be back until the summer. Strip him.
I totally believe that. Yeah, I totally believe that Dana...
That's fair to...
Yeah, I totally believe that Dana didn't actually, like, talk to Conor.
And that's, like, think about it. Think about that. Like, I know people are going to think, like, well, you guys are kind of like assuming now. It's pure conjecture. You don't know that they talked. We kind of do know that they didn't speak. Just going by what both parties said, they haven't talked. Not at least, like, if you want to take such a big decision, just strip the title off of him, you would think, since he's by far your biggest draw ever, and since considering the magnitude of what he just accomplished, and the fact that his stardom is at an all-time high, and he's just like a cash machine right now. Not only would you have one meeting with him, you would have multiple meetings with him to discuss this whole thing every step of the way and figure out what you're going to do. And they did none of that. Like, this is how petty and poorly run this whole company is. And to make matters worse, they want to fire Mike Gold.
They shouldn't fire Mike Gold. He's the best thing about this company.
Which fight was that from? Or because we should leave it till then?
I honestly don't know. I think it was a prelim fight, but okay. I'm not certain on which fight it actually was.
Well, we're talking about it now.
Yeah,
so
let's just talk about it
Please tell our dear listeners here on the Facing the Pain podcast. Sorry, I just couldn't. Tell them the story of Mike Gold.
So, as everyone who's ever seen a UFC show knows, they do the Octagon Girl walks, and it's round whatever, and Mike Goldberg basically does a broadcast reset, where he tells you who the referee is, he tells you who the Octagon Girl they just showed
Not before he tells you who the beautiful chick is.
Yeah, so it's... So they show the fighter, the referee, the girl walking down, the lovely whoever, and then it cuts back to the wide camera of both the fighters getting ready for the fight to start. And so at that point, he reintroduces himself and whoever his broadcast partner is. So Mike Goldberg says, the lovely Ariani, Mike Gold with Brian Stan. He forgot his own name. He forgot the Berg.
He didn't say Mike Gold with Brian Stan. He said Mike Gold, Brian Stan. He never says, he never used the term.
Yeah, he never uses,
propositions, whatever they are grammatically. Right. I don't know. He just Mike Gold, Brian Stan, here at Cage Style, whatever. And it's wait. And in fairness, somebody... Okay, so I wasn't watching it by that point. I want to be clear. I don't want to be a hypocrite. But somebody tweeted about this... I'm going to find out who the guy was.
It's Earl Monteclair. I don't know.
Oh, right. He's one of actually my favorite tweeters, I guess. Twitter people, whatever. I enjoy following him and interacting with him on Twitter. He pointed out that Mike Goldberg may or may have not messed up his own name. So I retweet that, and I text my broadcasting partner, Jeremy Lamb, telling him to see my last tweet and verify its authenticity.
Yeah, and I didn't know. And the thing is, you texted me told me to check it out, and the tweet was 7 minutes ago when I saw it. And luckily, I had the fights on, because if I didn't, I would not have been able to rewind and catch it. But I had it on, so I was able to rewind. And I figured I knew kind of where it would be, because I know just how the UFC operates. When Mike Goldberg is going to say his own name is going to be before the fight during that reset. And so I watched it, and I took video, and I thought it was kind of close. I thought you guys are maybe being hard on Mike Gold.
In what sense?
I thought maybe he just kind of said his name a little too fast, and there was a slight Berg in there.
No, there was. I've listened over and over. I swear. I take this shit very seriously.
I know.
Which is pretty sad. There was no Erg anywhere. It was Mike Gold, no Berg. It's like WCW crowd chanting "Gold." Gold.
They should have chanted that.
Well, they couldn't, because they weren't even chanting. It was piped in. Dude, he said Mike Gold, Brian Stan. It was legit.
No, it was. It was. Even if it wasn't 100% legit, it's still it shouldn't be close enough to where you question it. I mean, it's your own name.
You couldn't hear Berg anywhere, though. Like, I think you want to hear it because it sounds so odd that it sounded like my gold. You know what I mean? And you'd think, like, oh, no, there had to be some Berg in there. Like, maybe, like somebody interrupted him in his, like, headset because they wanted to... no, I'm not going to make that joke. But there was definitely no Berg in there. It was Mike Gold. And trust me, I listened to this over 20 times. It was Mike Gold, Brian Stan. And that guy has officially peaked.
Yeah, I don't see how you top forgetting your own name.
I'm going to be so mad when he gets fired if these rumors are... And apparently the rumors are super true. Apparently Eddie Bravo on the Joe Rogan podcast let the cat out of the bag. Maybe it wasn't on the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't know. I'm guessing it was. I don't see where else Eddie Bravo would be talking. And, like, they tried to sort of, like, recover and... I don't know. Apparently, I didn't listen to any of it, but that's what people were saying. But, like, it was super obvious. Like, apparently, Chael Sonnen said that Mike Gold was going to be replaced by Jim Rowe.
That's a name.
Yeah. That's a name. What the fuck does Jim Rowe even do these days?
I'm sure he still has his own TV show or radio show or podcast or something, but yeah, they're gonna try to probably replace him with someone that they think is good, and they're probably not gonna be good. They'll be better than Mike Gold because, God, how are you still that awful after 20 years?
At least they'll have a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
Or they'll have a ceiling.
Like, honestly, they need to, like, I think Anik is fine, and I guess he could do it. Like, that's probably your best shots. Because if you try to go someone, Elite XC tried to do it with Gus Johnson, and I think Gus Johnson is fantastic at basketball and football. But if you try to do it with, like, a quote-unquote professional sports broadcaster, like, how many of these guys really give a fuck about MMA?
Well, I mean, in defense of Elite XC, sometimes these things happen in MMA.
And I think that was honestly a CBS call who wanted one of their guys in there. But
that was a Strikeforce show when he said that, though, right? That was the Shields brawl with
that was the Shields brawl.
Against, who were they brawling with?
I don't recall, and I was there, so that's pretty bad.
Oh, you were there during that brawl?
Yeah.
So you didn't hear the sometimes these things happen in MMA call? At least
I
not
heard
live?
it. He said it over the microphone.
Oh, he said it over the microphone, not over the broadcast?
No.
Oh, so you even addressed the audience.
Yeah.
So you were there for one of the greatest call in the history of our sport.
That was when Scott Coker and I pissed next to each other.
Oh. That's right. That's when you enjoyed a little golden shower action. That is correct. Yeah, plenty of you. For somebody who hasn't been to that many MMA events, you do have plenty of oddly entertaining stories, and you have been there for some pretty memorable events. Anderson destroying Forrest Griffin is the one that sticks out to me. You've seen Rashad ruin your life and Chuck Liddell's life.
Yes.
You've seen
Kimbo Killer. Rocky is here.
You've seen Seth Petruzelli knock out Kimbo Slice.
That happened. Rocky is here. Yeah, right in front of me. Honestly,
so you didn't hear the Rocky is here.
I didn't hear the Rocky is here call.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that might be the best call in MMA history. What else have you seen? Brett Rogers and Fedor. Dan Henderson against Fei Zhao when Anderson Silva called me the man. Oh, yeah. Nobody cares about the fight, but Anderson Silva called you the man. That's so right. There's that. You've
Fedor against Bigfoot. I don't remember much of that event. I don't think anything spectacular happened, like, off air that I could recount. But
yeah,
I was there for
and
that one.
Bigfoot beating Fedor, like, in hindsight, right now, it's not, like, that big of a deal.
I don't know. Bigfoot kind of sucks now, too.
No, but I mean, like, nobody looks back at that fight as anything memorable. That's
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
that was the night where Alistair Overeem wouldn't do an interview with me because I didn't have a camera.
See? So that happened.
Yeah.
Alistair Overeem refused an interview with you because you didn't have a camera. There was one event you went to where you were too busy trying to write about a specific, shall we say, beautiful
the beautiful girl. Brittany.
The beautiful Brittany. And that got you in trouble. What show was that?
That was Jim Miller against Melvin Gillard.
Okay, nothing memorable happened.
That was when Patrick Berry confirmed that he would be a future star if he just won fights.
You did have that Pat Berry interview on that. See? You're an oddly, how to put this, witness of memorable MMA related events. I don't know how else to put that.
I don't know either.
I mean, that peeing on Scott Coker alone is. Every time I tell the story, it increases in
graphicness.
Yeah. The true story is you both kind of pissed next to each other. That's all.
Yeah, and there was dividers next to us as well.
Yeah, that's what you're calling penises right now. All right. So Mickey Gall and Sage Northcutt.
Is that what happened? Is that the fight we have? Mickey Gall and Sage Northcutt? This was a fight?
This was a fight. Sage looked fantastic. He was taunting him. He was confident. And, yeah, like his takedown defense, though. Let's talk about that. I mean, if I'm going to be harsh on the girls, I have to... Here on Facing the Pain podcast, oh, yeah. You got to give me time. We're equal opportunity critics. And... Yeah, dude, this is unacceptable at this point. Mickey Gall didn't even set up his shots with anything, didn't even fake a jab or anything. He just switched levels, and he hardly exploded. He just went for the most basic, rudimentary takedown possible. And Sage Northcutt wouldn't offer a hint of resistance. You know how I know a fighter sucks?
When they get taken down with an ankle pick.
And that's the first part. And what's the second part? What's their immediate reaction after they get taken down?
They just panic and don't know what and give up their back.
Guard. No. That's CM Punk.
Well,
that's a special kind of rubber guard.
Yeah.
When you get taken down easily and the first thing you do is go for the rubber guard, you probably are terrible. I'm not saying... You can't go for the rubber guard. I'm not saying the rubber guard isn't good for MMA, although I don't remember the last time I saw it being effective at all, in spite of what Joe Rogan would tell you. Remember what Joe Rogan would freak out every time somebody went for it, and he starts naming these Eddie Bravo weird positions?
Yeah, crackhead position will never get old.
That's right. John Jones should go for that.
Maybe that's what he was going for when when Rashad took him down.
That fucking joke. So, yeah, like when you get taken down with ease and the only thing you can do is rubber guard and just like You know the difference between, like, you can immediately spot the difference between somebody who knows what he's doing off his back and somebody who's just, like, flailing his legs up or, like, trying to, like, go for rubber guards or, like, aimlessly flaunting his hips. It's pretty easy to tell.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's pretty much Sage Northcutt. And Mickey Gall landed some shots on the ground, then... took his back, got the body triangle, which, did you know you can actually tap out somebody with a body triangle alone? Ivan Salaberry did that to Tony Strickland.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Happened in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. See? And people say we don't research. We knew this segment was coming. That's why we researched it in the previous one. And I'll give that much credit to Paige Van Zandt. She showed better rear naked choke defense than Sage Northcutt did. And I'm not even joking.
This fight, we talked about it on the podcast last week of how the top 4 fighters, it was all kind of unknown based on potential. And it was
right.
It was weird looking on Twitter before the fight how many people were like so certain that Northcutt was going to win. I think Gall was actually the betting favorite. But people seemed really certain that Northcutt was going to win because he was the one that actually had a victory over a UFC fighter. I mean, don't discredit Mickey Gall. He had a victory over former world champion, one of the longest reigning world champions of all time.
Never mind. God, I'm an idiot. Yeah.
I never bought the Sage Northcutt hype, honestly. I don't know what anybody ever saw in him. And I guess maybe it's easy to say it in hindsight. I mean, he roughed up Mickey Gall on the feet in the first round. I thought he won the first round.
Still not like a great achievement.
Right. I'm not saying Mickey Gall is good either, but I just don't see... I thought he was better than Sage Northcutt. And I just don't know what people saw in Sage Northcutt, honestly.
I want to be clear that when I picked Sage Northcutt to win, it had nothing to do with me thinking he's any good. So
that wasn't directed at you. This was directed at
I know. But
people.
I just wanted to clear my conscience. He's terrible, honestly. Look, that punch that dropped him, it was off of a standard separation from the clinch. And I'm not saying I don't want to be, again, I don't want to be nitpicky here and being super harsh. People do get caught upon being separated from the clinch, but that was like, it looked like it didn't even cross his mind that this guy might throw upon separation. It wasn't even a clean punch or anything. But I mean, he's terrible. Honestly, he's probably just a likable baby-faced guy with, I don't even know what's his backstory, but isn't he the rich kid with the father who forced him to?
Yeah, somebody on Twitter made a point of, are we sure Sage Northcutt even likes MMA, or is this just something he's doing because his father basically pushed him into doing it from the moment he was born? And I feel like that's kind of fair. Like, maybe he's just not any good, but it does kind of feel like it's one of those things. Maybe he just doesn't like doing this, but he's forced to do it. I mean...
What kind of father would force his son from the day he's born to go into mixed martial arts?
Oh, well, I mean, he'd been training martial arts, like kickboxing, and I guess he just thought the next step was MMA. His father probably saw it... His father honestly probably saw it as maybe he can't be a football player or whatever, but shit, look at all these terrible MMA fighters and how unathletic they are. If I just start training
$8,000 a night for a night's work.
I mean, Sage got paid the most out of anybody on this card outside of Faber, so his father did something right.
Best.
Yeah,
father knows best.
Yeah, so I don't know. That might be a fair point. I don't think he's good. I still don't know how good.
Does it even matter? Honestly,
no.
He's not good. He's never. I'm not saying this to shut down the conversation or anything, but I'm seriously saying it really might be a good point. But I feel like he's so bad that it's not even worth. It's not even worth contemplating why he's not good. It's not if this had been some fighter with legitimate potential, a lot of athletic gifts, that's been kind of pushed and pressured by his father or whoever to turn into an MMA fighter, and he's underperforming as a result, then okay, maybe it's an interesting conversation. And it's worth pondering, all right, why can't he make the most out of his gifts? But this guy is clearly not good. I think we can both agree on that. And young, whatever, can get better. He can. I don't think he's gonna get much. He's way too awful to get much better than that.
Yeah, he's 20, so it's possible. I don't want to completely write him off, but
look, dude,
something's got to happen.
He might get better, but it's like I always say this because people's reactions to whenever somebody's really young in any sport, actually, not just MMA, it's like, oh, he's only insert number here. He's only whatever 20, 21 years of age. Like, give him time. And
right, but you can always kind of tell with a lot of guys.
Exactly. That's where I was going at.
If they're going to be good or not.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of foundation of talent, of just like the basis of something to develop. When he can't do any, like, seriously, what is Sage Northcutt good at?
And then Mickey Gall knows how to sell himself. I give him that. After he beat CM Punk, he called out Sage Northcutt, which I'm sure he looked at it realistically and said Northcutt's kind of a name that they want to push. I feel like I could beat him, and so why don't I call him out? And after this fight, he called out Dan Hardy, who I don't think has fought in 5 years.
Isn't he retired and a commentator now?
I know he's retired, or I know he's a commentator. I don't know if he's like officially retired, but apparently he has some type of medical condition that won't let him fight. But I feel like not too long ago he said he wanted to try to return, and so maybe that's what Mickey Gall heard and figured. Hey,
in 4 years, Mickey Gall is calling out George St. Pierre.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Right now, that's risky. Risky. George St. Pierre would destroy him.
Listen, Dan Hardy is a legend in the sport, okay? So you need to respect the legend.
Well, he did contribute to one of our greatest.
That's right. That's why he's a legend.
All right, well, fair enough.
Not for any other reason. I can't name another reason.
The great name of Dan Hardy.
Urijah Faber defeated Brad Pickett in his last fight ever. It was your kind of typical Faber fight where he grappled the shit out of Brad Pickett, and he probably should have finished him in the first round. He dropped him in the first round, had his back, and looked like he was going to finish him with a rear naked choke, and for some reason just decided to ground and pound for a little while and not even really go for the choke. And when he did go for the choke, I mean, Pickett defended it all right, but typically Faber would finish that choke. And then the rest of the fight was just Faber out-grappling Pickett, but not really coming too close to a finish. Of course, Mike Goldberg kept talking about the fucking guillotine choke and how Faber...
Oh, dude. I'm sorry to cut you off. Apparently, Mike Goldberg talked about his favorite Urijah Faber moment.
Yeah, so here's what happened. I texted you this, and this is the only reason you know
That's
this.
more important than the fight. Let's just hear it.
That's fine. So they went around to like the broadcast of everybody that was there. So it was Dominic Cruz, Daniel Cormier, Jay Glazer, basically everybody on the UFC on Fox broadcast team. And they gave their favorite Urijah Faber moments. And Mike Goldberg said, "Oh, my favorite moment was UFC or WEC 48 on pay-per-view when Jose Aldo hit Urijah Faber with so many leg kicks." And he disguised it as, and Faber was just so tough, he was not going to quit that night in California. And I was like, really? That's the moment you picked, though? Like, the night he couldn't walk straight after that?
Dude, you think... Remember when they, right before the Conor Aldo fight, somebody had a really great feature on, like, called Facing Aldo or something?
Yeah.
Where, basically the premise was they were interviewing fighters that actually went in there with Aldo.
And Chad Mendes beat Jose Aldo twice.
Chad Mendes would have shut the fuck up about himself. I remember how pissed I was about that. They talked to Urijah Faber, and he said two things. He legitimately said that for 6 straight months he couldn't walk right after that fight. And that till this day, and this day was like, I want to say late 2015.
Yeah. It was right before the Conor fight.
He has occasionally at night breathing difficulties because of a knee to the chest that Aldo hit him with. So, that Uriah Faber's words, not mine. So, safe to say that a fight that messed him up, maybe for life, for years to come at least, legitimately fucked him up physically, in which he may or may not have landed a punch, is Mike Goldberg's favorite moment of Uriah Faber. A guy that's won a title, that had memorable finishes, loads of exciting moments, tons of great fights. But no, his favorite Uriah Faber moment is him getting the bludgeoning of a lifetime.
Yeah.
We're going to miss Mike Gold.
Dominic Cruz's favorite moment was when Uriah Faber pranked him on The Ultimate Fighter when he wasn't there.
Dominic Cruz is sneakily awesome.
Oh, he was good. So they did a face-off with Cody Garbrandt. You know how they do that stupid little thing to build up the fight. And half of it was muted because I'm just assuming Garbrandt was cursing up a storm. So I couldn't make most of it out. And I wonder if it's actually been released, like, uncut online somewhere. And Dominic Cruz had a line of... Garbrandt was talking about like his team alpha male and all this stuff, and Dominic Cruz just had a line like, "I love your team. I've made millions of dollars off of them."
I doubt it's millions of dollars, but I
doubt so
I appreciate
well, but it's still
dig.
a good line.
I appreciate the dig. It was a good line. That's if you're gonna take a dig at somebody, that's the way to do it. It's factual, well, minus the millions of dollars part, but
I'm willing to bet Cruz has made at least $1 million off of Team
That's
Alpha
not
Male.
millions of dollars, though.
Has he made
$2 million
really
off make of millions of dollars off of like fighting Dillashaw?
You got to think his pay. He fought Dillashaw. He fought Faber 3 times. He fought Benavidez like twice, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't make millions of dollars off those fights combined. He's probably made more millions. It's probably not even millions, but he's probably made more doing commentary for Fox.
That might be true, actually.
And I wish I was kidding.
Yeah, that might actually be true. Let's see how much he got paid for that last fight against Faber.
Okay.
He made
more great research.
He made $350 for the Faber fight.
Okay.
He only made $110 for the Dillashaw fight. That sucks.
$110 for one night's work?
That joke's never going to get old.
No, absolutely not. Plus, $110 for one night's work sounds kind of impressive. Like, oh wow, that's a lot of money.
That sounds fine, but the 40,000 or whatever doesn't sound quite as good. So Faber retired, and that's the end of the California Kid. What's your favorite Uriah Faber moment?
It was definitely that night, Joe, when he lost his WEC title for the first time, because that's when we found out that he was human. No, my favorite Uriah Faber moment is a weird one. Well, not weird, but maybe... Do you know what okay, you knowing me, what do you think is my favorite Uriah Faber moment?
I have no clue, honestly. When he choked out Alex Caceres? Oh.
No. The finish against Brian Bowles. That was fantastic. It really is one of my favorite sequences
that was a really
in
good
MMA
finish.
history.
Yeah.
Like, he hurt him on the feet. It might have been a right hook, whatever. He threw a bunch of elbows as well on the feet, maybe even on the ground. I have to rewatch it. I mean, it's kind of a blow-up that I'm saying it's one of my favorite sequences ever, and I can't remember it. But it does kind of, in a way, highlight everything good about Uriah Faber in the ring. Because we talked about it last week. Like, I've kind of soured over him just because he's kind of, like, annoying, honestly. But in the cage, he's he's had his moments. He really was fun to watch. And when it came to scrambling and killer instinct and going after somebody when they're hurt, he did produce some magic. Honestly, I'm not overstating this because he's retired, but that finish against Brian Bowles was one of those moments, and he just went nuts with elbows and punches. And then after he dropped him, he just like spun, and it was so freaking smooth. And got a guillotine, tapped him out. I want to rewatch that fight now, but that was my favorite Uriah Faber moment of all time.
That's fair. That was a good finish.
Do you have a moment? Did you guys take a shit in the same bathroom or something?
I have never met Uriah Faber.
Oh, you don't have a Uriah Faber story?
I don't have a good Uriah Faber story. I'm sorry. Mine was probably the first Jens Pulver fight, and I know it's easy to look back at Jens Pulver being washed up.
That was a big deal, actually. It's really overlooked, but that's a good call.
That was a huge fight at the time, and Pulver wasn't. He was still probably washed up at that point, but it wasn't terrible because remember he lost all those fights at lightweight, and then he dropped down to featherweight, and he actually beat Cub Swanson. Like, look what Cub Swanson's doing now.
He almost shot down the myth.
And he beat Cub Swanson, and so people were like, oh, like, Jens Pulver is still dangerous. And so that Faber fight was, like, a huge deal. Like, remember it got the primetime special for WEC, which was unheard of at that point. Yeah, that was a big fight at the time. And it was a really good fight.
It really was. I think it was one-sided for 5 rounds, but it was the good kind of one-sided. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't not the good kind of one-sided, like, I don't know, St. Pierre Fitcher, where somebody's just getting their ass completely kicked for 5 rounds. It looked sort of like maybe it could be competitive as you're watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you didn't feel completely, at least at the time. I haven't seen it since, I have to admit. But you didn't feel completely bad for Jens Pulver being there. It looked like it's a big deal. It's an exciting fight. Okay, Uriah Faber's clearly the better fighter. But it's not like, oh my God, somebody stopped the damn match.
Right. Yeah, it was a good fight. And that's my favorite moment, I guess.
Unlike their rematch. No, that was sad.
The rematch that was one where Pulver had lost, like he just got knocked out, I think, and there was something like
by Mike Brown, yeah.
Was it Mike Brown? No, we got knocked out by Leonard Garcia.
Oh no, not by Mike Brown. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
By Leonard Garcia. That's a good one. That's true.
And
Faber was the one that got knocked out by Mike Brown.
Faber got knocked out by Mike Brown, and like I think someone close to Pulver died like just before that fight too. And, yeah, he just wasn't in a good place and got easily defeated. That was really the downfall of Jens Pulver. Maybe the Garcia fight, but the Faber fight did him no favors easy either.
That was smooth.
Yeah, I know.
It really went. It's not like his career was on the up and up before that, but it went real sad, real quick.
Yeah.
After that, and by sad, it was like sad. It was extremely depressing.
It was even more depressing because he kept taking fights, and I actually talked to him. I interviewed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I interviewed.
You do have good stories.
Yeah, I'll tell the story. I interviewed Jens Pulver. There was some MMA game coming out, and Pulver was like part of it. And of course, it sold like 3 copies. It was supposed to be like MMA meets like Street Fighter or some shit.
MMA meets Street Fighter.
Yeah. It was
the game Street Fighter.
Yeah, the game Street Fighter.
The Capcom game.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, hold on. I'll find the name of it. Jens Pulver.
Wait, so it had Ryu and Jens Pulver. That can't be right.
Supremacy MMA is what it was called.
Okay. I bet you it has nothing to do with Street Fighter.
No, like that was kind of the thing. It was supposed to be like very they didn't have like cool Street Fighter moves or whatever, but it was like no grappling kind of stuff. It was very just arcade style fighting.
They should. Do you remember what we did that once with the UFC Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
That would have been, dude. Tell me that wouldn't have been. Would you not play the shit out of that game?
It would have been fantastic.
I honestly would play it way more than any. And I mean, I do like Mortal Kombat more than any UFC game, so I'm biased. But I think even you would probably play that more.
So I interviewed him because he was trying to do promotion for this game. And I don't remember exactly when was the game was released in 2011. So I probably interviewed him prior to this Titan FC fight, maybe. I just have his Wikipedia page pulled up now. So anyway, I interviewed him and I just talked about the losses and it's like kind of what keeps you going and everything. And he's like, all of my losses, it's not like I'm going in there and getting knocked out. I'm just getting tapped out. And like, I just got to be better to prevent that and stuff. And I was like, dude, this is sad. Like, you need to really recognize, all right, you're not getting knocked unconscious, but you're still taking like hard shots in these fights. And you're not going to improve your submission defense at this point against these younger, better fighters. Like, you really need to give it up.
To be clear, you were thinking that you didn't.
Right, I didn't say that to him. And yeah, so I don't even know why I brought up this story, but yeah, he was kind of. As we talked about just like how quickly it went downhill for him, and then he just kept fighting.
I'm looking at this now,
and it was
because of the whole tap out thing. He got tapped out by Faber inside 2 minutes, by Josh Crispy inside 1 minute, by Javier Vasquez inside 4 minutes, and by some dude called Diego Garrido in 1 minute and 8 seconds. Those are all first-round tap-out losses.
Yeah, and
so
then
you can't say, I'm not getting knocked out. You're getting tapped out in a matter of minutes, sometimes seconds.
Yeah, and then he had 2 wins. He lost another submission in 4 minutes. And then he had a win. And then he got knocked out with a knee. And then a win. Then he got knocked out again. A win. And then
Tim
2 losses.
Elliott. Don't I know who that is?
He just fought for the title, didn't he? Yeah, he just fought Demetrius Johnson for the title.
Oh, I do know who that is. Yeah.
So, yeah, he wasn't getting knocked out. I mean, I guess he was not incorrect there. But he just sounded so delusional of how good he still was. And it was evident of how bad he had gotten really from that Faber fight, the second one.
It is kind of depressing as it is. It is kind of a really telling sort of outlook over what becomes of fighters who are like really washed up. Like we joke that, I don't know, like Jake Ellenberger is washed up before his foot got stuck in the cage. But this is being really, really a washed up, saddled prize fighter who just can't do it anymore and putting his health at risk for an extra buck. $5,000 for a night's work. When have you earned that?
How much money do you think Pulver made in his career? I bet it wasn't a lot.
Did he make $1 million? No.
How much did he earn for his last WEC fight? What do you think it was?
$54,000 is my guess.
$54,000 for his last fight?
Yeah.
Dude, we're talking WEC here. Keep this in mind.
Oh, WEC.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is correct, actually. So I'm going 21,000. It's probably less than that.
14,000.
Oh, okay.
How much did he earn for the Faber fight? 33 for the Faber fight.
Yeah, that guy didn't make $1 million.
Yeah, he was unfortunately in the UFC at a time where they weren't making money. Or they probably were making money.
Money wasn't good, unlike now.
Yeah, he probably didn't make a whole lot in his career, which is sad. But what can you do?
Well, you know what they say.
The
little eagle.
I was about to say. The little eagle will fly again.
Soars again. Apparently, I just checked it out today. That's why I remembered it. Apparently, the actual line was "Little eagle soars again."
Oh. We didn't do anything Christmas themed for this episode, but we do need to wrap it up. We've been here far too long. Other stuff happened on UFC on Fox that you didn't watch, and I don't remember. So there you go. Takeya Mizugaki apparently got knocked out. So
well,
that guy is 33.
How much money he's made over his career?
I think we did that last time. We looked and see how much he got paid for his last fight against.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in a jolly Christmas spirit. I don't remember. See, now there's a Christmas touch for this podcast.
All right, fair enough.
It's supposed to be a podcast with a Christmas touch, yet you named it "Facing the Pain."
Christmas can be painful. All right.
Wow, you sound like you got a lot of repressed memories. You okay?
No, I've gone shopping this week because I wait till the last minute to get my Christmas shopping done.
Pain.
And
I feel your pain, honestly.
And then I looked at my bank account afterwards, and so yeah, between shopping and my bank account slowly going down, it hasn't been a great Christmas.
Your bank account has been going down because you're shopping?
Yeah. Isn't that how it typically works?
Can you provide me with some details about it?
No, I can't. I cannot
Are you sure?
provide you. Yes, sorry. I know a man who can, but I cannot.
Oh, what are you going to do this Christmas? We'll wrap it up with that.
I am going to my parents' house on Friday night.
With the girlfriend?
With the girlfriend. And the dog.
Never mind.
What?
Oh, and the dog you like or the dog you don't like?
The dog I love is going with me.
What are you going to do with the dog you don't like? Oh, never mind.
Both dogs will be there.
Uh-huh. Both dogs that you love equally.
That's right.
Will be there.
So we're going there Friday night, and then kind of doing Christmas there on Saturday, and then coming back to our place to do Christmas at our place on Sunday. What are you doing for Christmas?
The whole family's here. My brother, his wife, my 2 little nephews. They're asleep now. I wish they could have taken part of this podcast.
That would have been fantastic.
They've learned English now, and it's, it's something. They use every line they hear in every movie ever, including the F finger. They don't call it the F word. They don't call it the middle finger. It's the F finger.
The F
I don't know.
finger.
That's like a picture of the middle finger and the F word, but it's the F finger. That's all I know right now.
That's pretty fair.
It is the F finger. And, so the whole family's here. My parents are here. And my mom is going to cook a mean... it's actually not a turkey. What did she say she was going to cook? Something meaty. I don't remember what we call it in English, so I'm not even going to attempt.
All right, then.
But it's a good old meat with like delicious sauce, rice, you know the drill. So, yeah, that is.
Well, don't let cousin Habib have too much because he might be fighting soon.
Apparently, he's refusing to fight my boy Jose Aldo.
Is he?
Oh, you didn't hear about that?
No, I heard that he might fight Nate Diaz, but I did not hear he's refusing to fight.
Strongly implied that he said he wants to move up to lightweight and
light heavyweight
for the interim title there.
Right, the light heavyweight interim title.
What's that?
The light heavyweight interim title.
Why light heavyweight?
Because that's what the headline says.
Oh, okay.
There's legitimately a headline on 411 that talks about... I wonder if it's still there or if they actually corrected it. Yeah, it's still there, so great editing.
We're not going to hate on 411.
Jose Aldo says he was offered interim light heavyweight title fight. That's the headline. You click the story, and it still says Jose Aldo revealed that he was offered an interim light heavyweight title fight.
Maybe he was offered an interim light heavyweight title fight.
Maybe, but I don't know. And that's what all the comments are, is how shouldn't it be lightweight?
Jose Aldo's fighting Anthony Johnson.
That would be a fight. Jose Aldo would get killed. I'm sorry.
Why do you gotta apologize? Of course he'd get killed.
I don't know, because you're a huge Aldo mark. Like, I expected you to be like, oh, if Aldo, depending on how the fight plays out, if Aldo uses his speed and chops him down with leg kicks, Johnson might get tired.
I'll admit I have my biases, but for such an emotional fan, I am pretty reasonable, you gotta admit.
That's fair.
So Aldo apparently strongly implied that he was that a certain fighter was offered and Aldo accepted, but that fighter's father did not accept because he was too busy fighting bears or something like that.
So Sage Northcutt didn't accept. I don't know how you get Habib out of that.
Sage Northcutt is fighting bears?
No, Sage Northcutt's father. Sage Northcutt's father didn't accept the fight.
Yeah, and Aldo said because he's fighting bears.
Sage Northcutt might be fighting bears. You don't know. That guy's
Sage
weird.
Northcutt can not find a freaking dude. He can fight a teddy. He's not gonna fight a bear. Imagine Sage Northcutt in the face of a grizzly.
He would probably try to be friends with it.
Yeah, exactly. He would feed it honey.
Yeah, that strategy might work.
And then you play dead. Apparently. Getting ready to be really dead in a few seconds. I don't buy that story, by the way. Play dead. Now, apparently it's legit, but nobody's doing that. Let's be serious.
My story is I don't have to be fast. I just have to be faster than than one other person. That's always my strategy. Unless I'm the only person out there, then I'm fucked.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, wait, most of the times people are going to get attacked when they're alone. So what's your strategy then?
Don't be alone.
You're a tag team specialist. You're not a one-on-one specialist.
Yeah, don't be alone.
Don't be alone. That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Don't be alone. All right. Okay, so we've gave it a Christmas touch and ended it with the harrowing sights of or mental images of Jeremy getting ripped apart by a bear. Because nothing says Christmas like that.
We'll be back next week to talk about Ronda Rousey taking on...
No, next week you'll get your Academy Award.
My Academy Award?
Oh, you didn't get the joke. You're dumb.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Just because I didn't call it an Oscar.
Yeah. I can talk about stopping world pollution and things like that.
Your soon-to-be current president does not believe in world pollution.
Unprecedented.
Unprecedented. What a great man. He's going to be a great president.
We're going to talk about Ronda Rousey facing Ronda Rousey, and there's some other fights on the card, too.
Ronda Rousey facing Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, that's what the whole promotion has been based on, so I'm assuming that's who she's fighting.
Joe Rogan called them out on Twitter.
I know.
I like that.
So I'm assuming she's just fighting herself, fighting her inner demons.
Assuming he knows he's losing his job, too, and that's why he went ahead and
Good!
Just said it.
I love this Joe Rogan.
I'm gonna rewatch Holm and Rousey for next week, just as preparation for the fight breakdown.
Yeah, I rewatched it.
Really,
I sent you some
the only reason
quotes.
I'm doing it was that.
I said I rewatched it and I sent you that quote.
Yeah, that was where I was going with this. But in reality, the real reason why I'll be watching it is to sort of just be able to listen to that exchange.
It was a fantastic exchange.
We're not going to ruin it. We'll get to talk about it next week.
All right.
Even though people know what we're talking about, probably.
We'll be back with you next week, right here, inside the Octagon.